Walk into any room. Notice who's talking the most. Now notice who everyone listens to when they finally speak. It's never the same person. The loudest voice in the room is rarely the wisest. The person who talks the least often knows the most. This isn't coincidence, it's psychology. Today, we're breaking down why silence is a sign of intelligence, why the smartest people in the room are often the quietest, and what they're doing while everyone else is talking. Let's explore the power of strategic silence. What quiet people do differently. The observation. In every meeting, every social gathering, every conversation, there's always that one person who barely speaks. While everyone else is fighting to be heard, they're sitting back, watching, listening, observing. And when they finally speak, the entire room goes quiet. Why? Because what they say actually matters. It's precise, it's insightful, it's thought through. They didn't just wait for a gap in conversation to insert their opinion. They waited until they had something worth saying. The talker versus the thinker. The constant talker thinks out loud, processes through speaking, needs external validation, fears silence, repeats the same points in different ways. The strategic silent thinks before speaking, processes internally, self-validates, comfortable with silence, speaks only when adding value. The difference? The talker uses words to figure out what they think. The quiet person already knows what they think. They're deciding if it's worth sharing. The information asymmetry. While you're talking, you're giving information. While they're silent, they're collecting it. You reveal your opinions, your biases, your knowledge gaps, your insecurities, your strategies. They observe group dynamics, who defers to whom, what's unsaid, patterns others miss, the truth beneath the words. By the time the conversation ends, you know what you already knew, plus their carefully chosen insights. They know everything you revealed, plus everything everyone else revealed. Information asymmetry equals power asymmetry. Reason number one, they're listening, not just waiting to talk. The difference between hearing and listening. Most people aren't listening during conversations. They're waiting for their turn to talk. The internal monologue of the constant talker. Person A is speaking. Talker's brain. That reminds me of my story. I should tell them about the time I... Wait, are they done yet? No? Okay, when they finish, I'll say, oh, they're still talking. Okay, but as soon as they're done, result. They heard words, they didn't absorb meaning. What quiet people do instead? They practice active observation, a deeper level than active listening. They're not just hearing words, they're reading. 1. The content, what is being said. 2. The subtext, what is not being said. 3. The emotion, how it's being said. 4. The context, why it's being said now. 5. The pattern, how this fits into larger patterns. Example, surface level, what most people hear. I'm fine with whatever you decide. What quiet observers notice. Tone, slightly tight. Body language, arms crossed. Pattern, third time they've said, I'm fine this week. Subtext, they're not fine. Context, they feel unheard. While everyone else moves on, the quiet person just learned. This person feels excluded from decision-making. They won't speak up directly. There's growing resentment. This will cause problems later. They didn't speak. They just became the most informed person in the room. The cognitive load advantage. Research from cognitive psychology. Speaking requires significant cognitive resources. Word selection, sentence construction, tone management, monitoring reactions, adjusting message in real time. Listening requires far less. This means, while you're using 80% of your brain power to talk, they're using 20% to listen, leaving 80% free to analyze patterns, form connections, identify inconsistencies, develop strategies, think several steps ahead. By the end of the conversation, you're cognitively exhausted from talking. They have complete situational awareness and mental energy to spare. Reason number 2, they value precision over presence. The illusion of contribution. Our culture equates talking with contributing. If you're not speaking, you're not adding value. This is completely backward. The person who speaks the most is often adding the least value because they're repeating what's already been said, thinking out loud, wasting everyone's time with their process, filling silence, discomfort with quiet, seeking validation, need to be seen as smart or important. The person who speaks least is often adding the most value because when they finally speak, they synthesize everything that's been said, identify what everyone missed, offer a perspective no one considered, solve the problem everyone's been talking around. Quality over quantity. Warren Buffett's communication style. Known for being quiet in meetings, when he speaks, people stop everything. Why? Because he speaks once and says something that renders the previous 30 minutes of debate irrelevant. He's not interested in being heard, he's interested in being right. The strategic silence principle. Smart people understand. Every time you speak, you're spending social capital. If you speak constantly, your words lose value. Inflation. If you speak rarely, your words gain value. Scarcity. It's basic economics applied to communication. The precision test. Before speaking, quiet people ask themselves, 1. Is this new, or am I repeating what's been said? 2. Is this useful, or am I just filling silence? 3. Is this true, or am I speculating? 4. Is this kind, or am I just being heard? 5. Is this necessary, or can silence serve better? If the answer to any of these is no, they stay quiet. Most people fail this test with almost everything they say. Reason number 3. They understand the power dynamic of silence. The uncomfortable truth. Silence makes people nervous, and nervous people reveal things they wouldn't otherwise share. The interrogation technique. Police and negotiators know this. Strategic silence is one of the most powerful tools for extracting information. Ask a question, then shut up. The other person will fill the silence, often with far more than they intended. Why? Because silence feels like judgment. People rush to fill it, to prove they're valuable, to avoid seeming stupid. Quiet people weaponize this. The power dynamic. In any conversation, the person most comfortable with silence holds the power. Example conversation. Person A, the talker. So, that's my proposal. What do you think? Person B, the quiet one. 5 seconds of silence. Thoughtful expression. Person A. I mean, we could also do it differently, like, or maybe, what if we, I'm flexible on the details. Person B. Still silent. Person A. Actually, now that I think about it, there might be some issues with. Person B finally speaks. The third option you mentioned. Tell me more about that. What just happened? Person B said almost nothing. Person A, 1. Revealed 3 alternative proposals, 2. Admitted weaknesses in their plan, 3. Showed flexibility, desperation, 4. Gave Person B all the power. Person B now chooses which path to take. Person A just revealed the entire map. The respect command. When someone rarely speaks, their words carry automatic weight. Why? Scarcity principle. We value what's rare. If you speak all the time, people tune you out. Your words become background noise. If you speak rarely, people pay attention. Your words become signal. The CEOs, the leaders, the power players, they all understand this. They don't dominate conversations. They end them with a single, well-placed sentence. What quiet people know that talkers don't. Truth number 1. Most conversations are performances, not exchanges. Talkers are performing. They're proving their intelligence, defending their ego, seeking validation. Quiet people recognize this, so they watch the performance instead of joining it. They learn more from watching people perform than from the performance itself. Truth number 2. People tell you who they are, if you let them. Everyone wants to be understood. Given space, people will reveal themselves completely. Talkers interrupt this process. They redirect conversation to themselves. Quiet people create space. They let people reveal themselves. By the end, they know you better than you know them. This is how they seem wise. They understand people because they actually listen to what people tell them. Truth number 3. Silence is a filter. When you talk less, people project onto your silence. They assume you're deep, thoughtful, intelligent, mysterious, judging them, which makes them try harder to impress you. Whether or not this is true doesn't matter. The perception creates reality. Quiet people understand it's better to be thought wise and remain silent than to speak and remove all doubt. Truth number 4. The real conversation happens beneath the words. What people say is surface level. What matters is what they're not saying, who they look at when they speak, what topics they avoid, when they get defensive, what makes them light up. Talkers are too busy speaking to notice these things. Quiet people notice everything. Truth number 5. Questions are more powerful than statements. Smart, quiet people don't make pronouncements. They ask questions. Because statements create debate, questions create thinking. Statements position you, questions position others to reveal themselves. Statements can be wrong, questions can't. Example. Talker. That strategy won't work because of X, Y, and Z. Now they have to defend this position. Quiet person. What happens if X becomes a problem? Everyone now thinks through X without defensiveness. The quiet person guided the entire room without making a single claim. When silence is weakness. Important distinction. Strategic silence equals strength. Choosing not to speak, actively observing, waiting for the right moment, speaking with purpose. Fearful silence equals weakness. Afraid to speak, paralyzed by judgment, avoiding conflict, missing opportunities. The difference. Strategic, quiet person. Comfortable with silence, confident in their observations, speaks when it adds value, commands attention when they speak. Their silence is a choice. Fearful, quiet person. Uncomfortable with silence, uncertain of their thoughts. Wants to speak but doesn't. Apologizes when they finally speak. Their silence is a prison. One is powerful, one is paralyzed. This video is about the first type, the strategic silence that comes from wisdom, not fear. The balance. The goal isn't to never speak. The goal is to speak with intention and impact. Quiet people aren't mute, they're selective. When they speak, it's because they've observed enough to add value. They've found the gap others missed. They have something that will shift the conversation. Silence no longer serves the moment. They've mastered the art of knowing when to speak and when to listen. Most people have it backwards. The pattern you'll now notice. Next time you're in a group conversation, watch. The person talking the most is working the hardest for the least return. The person talking the least is learning the most with the least effort. And when that quiet person finally speaks, notice how the entire room shifts. That's not accident, that's strategy. The wisdom. There's a reason ancient wisdom across cultures prizes silence. Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. Plato. Even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent, and discerning if he holds his tongue. Proverbs. The quieter you become, the more you can hear. Ram Dass. The invitation. Try this. In your next meeting or conversation, speak half as much as you normally would. Instead, observe who's really driving the conversation. Notice what's not being said. Watch the group dynamics. See the patterns. You'll learn more in one conversation of listening than in a week of talking. The truth. People who talk less don't know more because they're naturally smarter. They know more because they spend their time collecting information instead of broadcasting it. While you're performing, they're learning. While you're filling silence, they're thinking. While you're seeking validation, they're forming strategies. And by the time you realize how much they already know everything about you. Drop a comment. Are you the talker or the observer in most conversations? Subscribe for psychology that reveals what people don't say out loud. And remember, the quietest person in the room is often the smartest, not because they know less, but because they're too busy learning to waste time proving it.